on the tape.
So, we're at the AMC theater that I actually really like, but most people look at as the shitty theater on Long Island. That's Raceway 10 is the name of it. It's very outdated, very old seats, not really up, like nothing's up to date, but I really like it because they show smaller movies and different movies. Like, later tonight, maybe tomorrow, me and Sam are going to go see the Peanut Butter Falcon that came out, I think, a week ago. It's not anywhere else but this theater. And they do show the big movies, too, but I'm not going to come here for an action movie because the screens are old, the seats are old, all that. But for a smaller indie movie, this is, like, my favorite theater to go to because I know they'll play it. And I'm here to see Brian Banks. And for me, I'm a fan of football and stuff like that. And I've heard about this story a few years back of a player in high school that was highly recruited and then was falsely accused of rape and missed out on 11 years of his football playing days and all that. So this is a movie about it. And Sam's at work right now. I got off at 12. It's Friday. Doing my usual 4 to 12. It's about 1 o'clock right now. It starts in 15 minutes. And I'm going to go see this, give you a review. I still got to see Hobbs and Shaw and Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark or whatever that movie is. There's a few movies out I really want to see. But I'm on my own for this one. I'll give you a quick review, hopefully a quick review when I get out. See you guys then. So I just got out of Brian Banks, and first thing I want to touch on is how I said it was an old theater. Not gonna lie, it's kind of hard to even go see a movie here, and it's a shame because they get so many great movies. But like, I don't know, it had like a musky, basement-y smell. Like, you know, if you have an unfinished basement, that kind of smell. I feel like there was like flies or like bugs flying around. And I showed a little clip before the movie of something at the top of the screen.
And lock your vehicle.
But it ended up not being a problem during the movie. The black bars cut it off, so that was good. But yeah, it's kind of a shame that a theater that shows like the indie movies, the smaller movies that I'm interested in, doesn't really upkeep enough. It's kind of, I don't know, I'm just a little upset about that because this is my favorite theater when it comes to just the different kind of films they do get in. But enough of that, we're going to get into the movie. And as for my expectations going in, I was expecting to like it because I heard the story. I'm big into football. I like comeback stories when it comes to sports. But I really, really enjoyed this one. One of the big pros I had with this would be the way it shows, like, the trouble people have after being convicted or accused of being a sexual predator and so on. The troubles with getting back on your feet afterwards. Like, you can't get a job. And, like, I feel like we all know that it's going to be harder for them. But in a situation where you're wrongly accused, you have to look at it as this guy didn't do this crime. And he went to jail for it, and he's paying for it, and now he can't even get his own life back on track. Like, he has no job. When he goes for interviews, even if he's doing great in the interview, once they see convicted felon, they don't want to hear it anymore. Or if it says sex offender, like, that is a term, and I don't blame jobs and people that are, sorry, I'm in the car, people are beeping, jobs or people who do not want that in their company. I get that. It's just like, people nowadays, like, this movie came out at the perfect timing people get accused of this sort of thing all the time now after the Me Too movement, and I'm not getting too political. I have to get a little political because the movie kind of shows that. The Me Too movement is a good movement, but there are people who don't use it the right way, and there are people that are getting punished and basically canceled, as they say, because of false allegations, because it is an easy way now it's an easy way to just accuse someone of something and get away with it. We stopped caring about evidence and we started caring about feelings, and I'm not saying feelings don't matter, but evidence and facts are what prove the issue. You can't just accuse someone and then say they did it. And that's how it is nowadays. But I'm going to get off that subject. It's touchy, and I'm not getting into it too much more. But this movie came out and showed that there are innocent people that get screwed out of... This guy got screwed out of 11 years of his life. He was a #1 recruit out of high school to go to USC, a huge college, probably straight into the NFL. And now he was 27, 28 years old. And he eventually got to go to the NFL, but I don't believe he had a big career because he was old. He was old. In sports world, he was old. Slower, more fatigue, couldn't really keep up because he's not used to that, and it sucks. I will say I'm interested to see maybe like a documentary on this instead, because I feel like that will give me more of a realistic view on it, because movies take liberties all the time. I just feel like maybe this one took a few big liberties to make the movie more dramatic or interesting. But all in all, I loved it. The casting, great. Directing-wise, it was nothing special. I know I'm recording this at a different location, you can tell. But I made a mistake by saying the directing wasn't done well, because now thinking back, this isn't told in chronological order, and it's handled very well. I think that decision made this movie even better, to start off after the fact of jail and then see how he got to this point and go back and see what happened. I thought that was handled very well. I also want to mention that the main character, I don't know if I said this, he does a great job. It's not an Oscar-worthy job, but it is a great job. And back to the review. Cast-wise, it was great. The main guy, I can't think of his name, but he was in Straight Outta Compton as MC Ren a few years ago, and I kept saying, I know his face from somewhere. I couldn't think of it. I looked it up right after the movie, and that's where I know him from. He did really good. Morgan Freeman shows up, and he's solid. I mean, he's a very small part, but he basically, he tells us what you need to do in life in order to get what you want, or happiness at least. You can't take what life throws at you and say, that's why I'm where I'm at. You have to just overcome where you are. And I think that's a good moral to live by, and I think that's a good moral to show in movies, that just because you grew up in a shitty neighborhood, poverty, surrounded with crime or whatever it may be, doesn't mean you have to succumb to that, and you can keep going and push through and get your dream. And I think that's a good way to look at it, is playing the victim never ends up with you winning. Maybe you'll get some people to feel bad or have an excuse for why you're not where you want to be, but at the end of the day, that won't make you the person you want to be, just because you have the excuse of, well, I didn't have this growing up, I didn't have this. You have to just realize that it's not what you have, it's what you want, and how much you're willing to work for it, if that makes sense. I'm trying to get a little deep. But if I had to say a negative, I would say the love story aspect. It kind of just drew away from the plot that I was interested in. It wasn't bad, per se, but it just didn't really hooked me in, and it felt like it took focus away from the plot I wanted and kind of took the rhythm of the movie and started to, the movie's doing this, and then all of a sudden it kind of dips down, goes back, dips down, and I think if you cut that love story out, it wouldn't have changed the story or the movie for me. Another negative I do have with it, it's a minor negative because I don't really care, it's still a great movie for me, would be some of the dialogue's a little corny and cheesy at times, but that being said, I can deal with it. It felt like a 90s movie in like the inspirational aspect. And at the end of the day, I don't care. I really enjoyed this movie. Yeah, the dialogue's a little cheesy, over the top at times. The love story kind of drags it out a little bit for me. But I don't think it was a bad part of the movie. I just think for me, I didn't care enough about that aspect. My score would be a 4.75 out of 5, what would make it a 9.5 out of 10 if you do it out of 10. And I love this movie. It's going to be in my top 10 as of now. Hopefully it doesn't stay in my top 10, because that means there was 10 great movies and that movie was still great and it's not even in my top 10. So hopefully it gets kicked out, but if not, it's still a great film. Anyways, that's it. That's the review. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please go check this movie out. It deserves way more money than it's getting because it is a smaller film. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell, and I'm going to start doing some smaller reviews. I think that's going to be something I'm going to enjoy more because those are the movies I gravitate towards more than blockbusters. I love blockbuster movies, don't get me wrong, but those are the movies that I love to go see. A24 films, movies like that. Smaller budget, great stories, solid acting. But I still love some Hobbs and Shaw. I didn't get to see it yet, but I'm sure I'm going to love it. Or even Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That's a bigger movie, but I want to start reviewing some smaller films because that's where my heart lies when it comes to film as a whole. See you guys in the next video. And my score would be a 4.75 out of 5, what would make it a 9.5 out of 10 if you do it out of 10. And I love this movie. It's going to be in my top 10 as of now. Hopefully it doesn't stay in my top 10, because that means there was 10 great movies and that movie was still great and it's not even in my top 10. So hopefully it gets kicked out, but if not, it's still a great film. Anyways, that's it. That's the review. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please go check this movie out. It deserves way more money than it's getting because it is a smaller film. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell, and I'm going to start doing some smaller reviews. I think that's going to be something I'm going to enjoy more because those are the movies I gravitate towards more than blockbusters. I love blockbuster movies, don't get me wrong, but those are the movies that I love to go see. A24 films, movies like that. Smaller budget, great stories, solid acting. But I still love some Hobbs and Shaw. I didn't get to see it yet, but I'm sure I'm going to love it. Or even Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That's a bigger movie, but I want to start reviewing some smaller films because that's where my heart lies when it comes to film as a whole. See you guys in the next video.